Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is Monday, October 18th, 2021, and this is the regular meeting of the Board of Education. If we could begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chambers, would you call roll, please?
Mr. Harrison.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik. Mr. Ross.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Thank you.
And before you tonight, item B1, we have the minutes from the previous two meetings. Are there any?
I'll make a motion
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on September 20th and the work session on October 4th, 2021.
I'll go ahead and second that, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. Any changes or clarifications on those? Hearing none, if you could call roll.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have before us tonight the agenda that's been prepared by the administration. And if,
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
thank you, Mr. Ross.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Any questions or comments? Or anything you want separated out as a board? Hearing none, if you could call roll.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable?
Good evening. Two items I'm going to kind of mold into one here, number 1 and 2, for discussion with the board. As I know all our board members are aware, there is a hiring shortage that many businesses across our country are currently dealing with, and that's something that we've been dealing with as a school district as well. And the biggest area where we've experienced those shortages has been with our substitutes, and that's not just our substitutes within the classrooms, teachers, aides. It also includes substitutes within our cafeterias, substitutes on our buses to drive our buses. And it's been a real challenge this year. And I wanted to start off by thanking people for the hard work they've been doing to really keep things moving forward within the buildings and within particularly the transportation department. And I know in talking to many of our parents, they're very aware that we're experiencing shortages because they're hearing it from their students and seeing other teachers or building administrators, sometimes board office administrators, coming and substituting in their classrooms because we're doing whatever we can and everything that we can to ensure that we are continuing instruction. A couple things that are important to note, and these are based off of questions that I've gotten, is that the substitute shortage or the absences that we're experiencing, whether they're teacher absences or whether it's a bus driver, they're not abnormal from any other year. So we're not seeing an increase in absences. The challenge is that we don't have the people to come in and fill those positions. And that becomes a real challenge because we can't just grab anybody off the street. In order to be a substitute within a school system, no matter what the position is, you have to have FBI, BCI fingerprinting to make sure you're a safe individual to be working with children. In addition to that, for many positions, you need special training. Whether you're an aide dealing with special education students or you're a substitute teacher working in the classroom, or you're a substitute bus driver that needs many hours of training as well as a commercial driving license. So the market out there right now to attract people has really been a challenge, and we've been having a lot of discussion within our Human Resources Department. It's discussion that's been happening amongst school districts within the county as well. I want the board to know that we are making a county effort to get some advertising out through the Educational Service Center on behalf of all the school districts to try and attract employees. In addition, our government is aware of the shortages and challenges that schools have been facing as well. And there's actually a Senate bill out there right now, Senate Bill 1, which appears to be very close to passing and being signed, which would provide more flexibility to school districts in hiring substitutes. It would ease the restrictions behind credentialing and things like that in terms of substitutes. Now, we definitely don't want to lower our standards in terms of the people we're bringing into our buildings to work with our children, but it may be a situation where it provides us a little more flexibility to find more substitutes. Of course, that's not going to eliminate challenges like finding individuals with commercial driver's license in order to be able to drive our buses. I really want to thank our parents, and I did mention that many of our parents have noticed, whether it's been having an unusual substitute within a classroom, or whether it's having to double up a bus route or a bus running behind. And we've tried very hard to use our reverse notification system to send out text messages for the busing so that we don't have children waiting at bus stops for long periods of time, and so that parents are aware if a bus is running behind. But I do want our parents to know that the reason why that's happening is because of the shortages that we're having. So what happens is at 5 in the morning, our transportation department actually works to redo bus routes for the morning and reconstruct those bus routes to make sure that we have a seat on a bus for every single student with somebody to drive that bus. We've also been having anyone who is available and certified to drive buses for us as well. We have some secretarial staff that works in transportation that used to be bus drivers that are helping out. In addition to that, our mechanics that work in transportation, they are all certified, and our mechanics have been driving buses for us as well, which they typically don't do. But you can see the long-term domino effect that some of this can have, because while those individuals are helping to make sure kids are getting to school, the normal things that they would do in terms of maintenance on a vehicle is getting pushed behind to no fault of their own other than helping out the district. We are trying to work through strategies to think out of the box to attract more individuals. So I wanted the board to know that we are working on the situation. It's not something that we are ignoring, whether it's through advertising for positions or whether it's looking at new avenues and ways to be more competitive with the market that's out there. But again, this is not something that we're experiencing on our own. If you look around at places like Target, I think Starbucks, I only know this one well because my daughter works for Starbucks, but they've shut down a lot of stores and moved their employees to specific stores because they can't run them all because they don't have enough employees. So hopefully this situation won't last much longer. and we'll get back up to full force. Until then, we're going to continue to make adjustments just as we've been doing. And again, I think it's important to mention how we really have great people working for us who are doing everything they can to make sure things continue to move forward. And I will continue to provide the board updates, especially as Senate Bill 1 hopefully passes and is signed. And I continue to have conversations across the county as we recruit for more individuals and especially provide support to our transportation department. And the last thing I wanted to share with the board, and yes, I am talking about graduation already. I thought we started an outstanding tradition last year with graduation in our stadium. The feedback that was received from parents was very positive. I felt that it was good for our community as well, in terms of our families staying right here in Medina and hopefully visiting local establishments surrounding graduation. We were very fortunate that we had great weather, and hoping that that continues as I'm announcing that we are going to have graduation again in our stadium this year. We are going to continue with a similar setup, even though we now have, thanks to the boosters, that nice screen. We're still going to rent the 2 screens on the side. It's important to me that our parents are able to very clearly see their students as they walk across the stage. I'm also in the process of talking to the Career Center, and they partnered with us last year to have their end-of-year celebration in our stadium, and I know they're considering doing that as well. So right now, graduation is scheduled for May 21st. This is off the top of my head. May 21st at 11 o'clock. We will work out arrangements in case we don't have nice weather, just like we did last year. So as we work through planning graduation, we will communicate all of that information to our parents. So look for that once we get through the holiday season. That's usually when we start getting that out. But the planning starts early because we want to make sure that we have everything in place and we're ready to roll once May rolls around. So I'm excited. I personally, as superintendent, I was proud to hold it right there in our stadium. So I'm looking forward to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sable. And we did, I think the board got a lot of positive feedback about having it here on the property as well of the school. So we appreciate you making plans for that next year, and it's exciting to have that just 6, 7, 8 months around the corner. It won't be that long. So, all right, Mr. Chambers?
Can I just ask one question about graduation? Aaron, Mr. Sable, are we going to share it again with Buckeye and the Career Center?
The Career Center is looking likely that we will. In terms of Buckeye, I did have a brief conversation with Buckeye, and it sounds like they're going to alter their facility, which doesn't surprise me because I got to be honest with you, I would not want our kids graduating out of Buckeye Stadium where it says Buckeye across the field. And I think it's nice we have our kids with the big M in the middle. So I think they're going to look at some different arrangements in Buckeye, but the Career Center, which represents all the districts in Medina County, I think that partnership is going to continue.
Thank you. I know that I didn't get your August financials to you last month. We're still in the process of transitioning from our system that was built in 1976 to a system that was built about 4 years ago. So it's a slow process. I finally learned to pull off some information from this new system. So I sent you all August financials. They're out there on our board docs, and the summary for August is that we ended August with $83 million. Here in September, the district bank balance decreased by $6.8 million to $77.5 million. This is $6.4 million below last year at this time. The general fund revenues were below last September by $2.6 million. The main reason for this is last year the property tax allocation came in September. They just came into us here from the county in October. So you'll see that our revenues will approximately be the same as last year come October. Our general fund expenditures were above last September by $65,000, and it's mainly between personnel services, benefits, and other funding. The sales tax fund balance is down to $3 million. The district spent approximately $378,000 in September, with the majority of expenditures on the scoreboard, antennas at the buildings, and the summer roofing project. The rec center capital fund balance is down to $214,000. The school district received a donation from Partnership Marketing for $72 and spent $27,600 on playground equipment and raindrop products. The district received approximately $21,800 in investment income. This is down from last year at this time by $103,000. The district has a general fund true days cash estimate to be 226 days. This is down from August by 16 days and last year by 32 days. I'd like to remind the board that the district has not had a levy request for additional monies since September of 2013. The most recent strategic plan and 5-year forecast do not call for a new money levy until the 23-24 school year. And also, if you remember, the true days cash calculation is based on our total expenditures of the 5-year forecast divided by 365 days. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. We appreciate all your hard work with the Treasurer's Office and keeping our books balanced for us and everything together. And again, what you're describing is the spend down that we have that's part of our budget plan and how that's been planned for several years, and we've been very methodical with that, and you've been able to add additional time in the past to that, and we appreciate all your hard work as treasurer. And at this time, we have action item 3 for board communication. Is there anybody that would like to speak with the board? Mr. Ross?
Yes. I have 2 things. I just want to continue my appreciation for our staff. It's a trying time. And from Mr. Sable down to our last ranking person, whoever that is, all your efforts from everyone is so much appreciated. And every time I talk to a lot of our staff members, they're all excited about what they're doing, and it's encouraging and it's appreciative, especially during the time of the pandemic, and hopefully we're coming out of this. The second thing I wanted to communicate is with Mr. Sable, and there are even a couple city council reps. We were at the Gender Sexuality Alliance meeting, and it was very refreshing talking with the staff advisors and the students on their plans and their goals. And I had a really good time talking with the kids, and looking forward to working with them in the future and seeing where we can go with that. So enjoyed that. So thank you.
Mrs. Parkhurst?
Thank you. Yes, I also wanted to echo Mr. Ross's remarks about all of our staff. Everyone is going above and beyond. They always do, but everyone is stretched pretty thin right now. I know Mr. Sable mentioned our transportation and our subs, and I think you also mentioned we have admin staff from central office, so they're subbing in classrooms and principals, and even I know in your office you're doing things that you normally would not do. So we appreciate everyone's hard work and everything that they continue to do to keep our district moving forward. The board curriculum committee met last week, and we received an update from Mrs. Cassidy about the professional development that the staff went through on the honeycomb training on October 8th, I believe that was, and updates on 3rd grade ELA testing, as well as other secondary and elementary school updates. the CEO program at the high school, how that's going, and that there's also some job shadow and career fair opportunities that are being offered through the county that they're able to do now that they weren't able to do before. So there's some more opportunities for our students. I believe they're also bringing in some additional college fair advisors and things that they couldn't do last year. So that's always good stuff. We also talked about possibly having, revisiting the Parent 101 or Ed Camps, because it's been several years since we've had those because we couldn't. So they're looking at opportunities and options for having those for our families as well, to get some information sent out to them. There's a lot of great things happening with our sports and band programs right now, so it's a really exciting time to be a bee and watch all of that go on. And lastly, I also did want to thank Mr. Chambers and all of our staff for helping us maintain our fiscal responsibility. He mentioned that we have not asked for new money since September 2013, yet we've done a lot to improve programs. So we're actually doing more with less, and I think that's great that we can think outside the box, be creative, and do so much more for our students and community without asking for additional funds. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Harrison?
Yep, thanks. I didn't have any committee meetings since our last meeting, so I don't have any updates as far as that's concerned. But you know, continuing, I guess, the theme on the staff and appreciation for the staff. One specific one that I know was really important in my house this last week was field trips, and I know that there are field trips that are happening again in the district, and I think that's a great opportunity for off-site learning, and obviously that doesn't happen without the dedicated teachers and administration and everybody who's worked to make it happen. So really glad to see that going on, and then also the fall sports season winding up. Band had a great weekend this weekend. I think boys cross country, girls soccer all have conference champions. Probably there'll be others there too that are coming. So football teams had a great season, and just everybody, coaches, athletes on down has given a lot of time and effort. Obviously, there's always sacrifices made in going through a sports season, but in light of COVID protocols and things like that, I think it's a great opportunity to just tip your hat to them for their efforts, and not just the kids that make up the program, but the adults that help see it through as well. So great to see those seasons wrapping up, the weather's starting to change, and have a really good kind of exclamation point to the season, all the hard work that's been put in for so many of our student athletes and band members, cheerleading, and everything else. So.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. And just to add to the comments, as was previously mentioned, just so proud of our different athletics and sports teams this fall. Even though the Browns may have disappointed us Sunday, the Medina Bees did an excellent job Friday night with a shutout. And, we had some people here to watch the game that just show the fact that we have such great player, and especially our quarterback, who Mr. Aller, that's doing such a great job this year, and everybody's so proud of the team effort of the entire team and how Coach Laird is leading that group. And as Becky mentioned, there's the other successes with the bands and with girls soccer, boys soccer, many of the other programs. I can't mention all of them here, but your board is proud of you, and we are glad to be a Bee, and just it's exciting. I'll probably become a Penn State fan for a while, just like I was a Michigan fan a couple years ago with basketball. So, it is neat watching our graduates go off, and again, we still have a season here that we're in the midst of, so let's keep that going. The policy committee, Becky and I and the administration met on October 7th, and we had a whole tranche of policies that came from Neola that we're working through that we'll have another meeting on, and that are, again, pretty much routine policies with that. So we'll have those, and then I think those will be on the November meeting. I think the regular meeting in November, we'll have those.
Correct. We'll meet again in November for a committee, first reading, November board meeting.
I don't know if that'll be our last group for this year or not. I don't know if we'll have another one in December, but we'll see. So that's moving ahead, and And again, you know, the staff, you guys have talked about the staff, and the staff have just worked so hard over the past year and a half during this period, and we appreciate from reworking classrooms to online to teaching that way, and then coming back and teaching in person, and just making classes vibrant for kids, and we appreciate all of those efforts. So we appreciate the work that the administration does, and the teachers and the bus drivers and the aides and the secretaries and everybody throughout the district. So thank you very much. As far as next item, we had public participation, and I don't know if, I thought, I was told nobody had signed up, so if we don't have any signups that registered for that, then we will move on to the next topic, which is item G1. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, if it pleases the board. Item 1, it's recommended that the Board of Education approve the August 2021 and September 2021 Treasurers' Reports. Item number 2, supplemental appropriations. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following supplemental appropriations for the 21-22 to the 21-22 permanent appropriations. These are small items that the different buildings are looking to add to what has already been approved by board members.
Okay, do we have a motion for those items?
Mr. Skidmore, I move that the board approve action items G1 and G2 as proposed by Mr. Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, if you could call roll.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable?
It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations to the Medina City Schools. A couple I do want to point out here. The first is a $50,000 donation to the athletic department from Medina Athletic Boosters. I do want to make sure that the board is aware that this is in addition to the large donation that they made at the last meeting for the scoreboard. This donation is a donation they make on an annual basis and is used for all of our athletic teams, and typically used for things like uniforms and to directly support our athletes. Also, I want to point out the good that our students are doing. Our high school student council has donated $1,000 to the Children's Center of Medina County, and that donation is through proceeds that they've raised through fundraisers. We have 2 field trips on the agenda this evening. It is recommended to the board that approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with policy 2340 for the 21-22 school year. The first is a boys varsity basketball team trip. They typically each year take a winter trip. This is for Chicago, Illinois. This trip is being paid for in full through fundraising money that the team has collected through summer camps that they run, in addition to support through the Athletic Booster organization. In addition, the Encore Entertainment Company, our show choir, would like to go and compete in West Virginia and Indiana, which they typically do travel around the region for competition. And that's in February, the beginning of February, and then the end of February. And they also utilize fundraising money as well as support from the parents and families within the organization as well. Service agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreement for the 21-22 school year. This is with the ESC of Northeast Ohio. This is something that the board had previously approved this school year. The additional dollars is because we have another student per their IEP that requires a placement within this program, which causes the increased cost. And I know I say this every time we have an ESC contract up there, but we structure our ESC contracts so they're not open-ended. Anytime there's an adjustment to it, whether it's ESC or Cuyahoga County, we come back to the board. And then personnel, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel pending completion of all requirements per our Department of Human Resources. And we do have a list of substitutes here, and I'm hoping that that list will continue to grow as we move into our next board meetings, especially looking at the bus driver list as well. So. Any questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent action items, please.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Any questions or comments from the board on these action items? My only comment, obviously it's always so humbling when you look at the donations, but when you look at the boosters giving $50,000 toward uniforms, that's very significant. And then the Children's Center, which does such noble work in our area with very difficult situations, with student council giving money for that. And then just the list of all the people that have given for the makerspace, whether it was crafting materials or colored pencils, just a lot of people that have helped out with all those things. So we appreciate all the donations that are made to the district and thank everybody. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Mr. Ross? Aye. Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
And at this time, unless there's any other business, we would make a motion for executive session for the purpose of employment or compensation of a public employee or official.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Please call roll.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
So going into executive session, we have the entire board, Mr. Shields. Anybody else at this point? And when we come back, we will not take action. Thank you.